Are you a woman of faith who is struggling to navigate your current season of life? Do you feel like life is just happening to you instead of for you? My name is Jill Pack. I'm a certified life coach and a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I want you to know that no matter your season or circumstance, it is possible to create a more joyful life. And I would love to show you how. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Seasons of Joy podcast. This is episode number 38, entitled I Am Me with Tyson Bradley. I'm excited to share this conversation with you. In this episode, Tyson shares a technique, a concept, a process that he developed to help people as they want to move towards change in their life. And he changes the word from change to restoring, to remembering. Remembering who we really are allows us to become who we want to be. So as part of this episode, he actually walks me personally through the process. So I am excited to share this with you. So here we go.
So I like to introduce myself first as a married man with two beautiful redheaded girls and a little boy on the way. So
that's wonderful.
I've got a boy coming in December, so we're super excited. A couple months away, and I love being a dad. And something else that I love being is a coach. And my experience within this world, I call it the self-help world and the self-help industry, because we're all trying to figure this life out. And I've been involved in it for over 10 years, just learning and doing all sorts of things. And I feel like I've finally stumbled on something, or maybe not stumbled, but received something that is super powerful for me and for those that I coach, to help them to create change that is easy and effortless, because a lot of times we think of change as hard and taking a long time. So that's what I'm here to kind of shift the whole self-help industry and get out of the whole idea that change has to be hard and it has to take a long time.
So you went to Utah State and majored in, we were talking about this
Human
before.
resources.
Human resources. Yeah. So it's kind of in that people management area, right?
Yep.
And so that would make sense that this was kind of a natural transition for you, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, I just remember when I first got into college, not necessarily knowing exactly what I wanted to do, but knowing that I was great with people, and that if there's anything that I could possibly do, it'd be to help them be better. It was just like, what is the business aspect of helping people perform faster, do things better? That was all I cared about. So
yeah,
human resources was kind of the natural fit, because I didn't really resonate with being a therapist or that psychology route. So
right.
yeah.
So this just kind of felt natural to you.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you've coached lots of people in this way, how to make positive wanted change in their life. Recently, you've kind of shifted you changed your podcast name to Inherent Identity, right? And you're writing a book, and I love in your bio, it says you are a best-selling author, #1 New York best-selling author, and I love that. Putting that out there.
It's part of what I teach, is to identify as who you want to be. And that's part of the framework and that I like to walk people through, is being able to help them define exactly what they want and who they really are, so that they can live into it.
How did you make that transition from human resources to coaching? Where did that come in? How did that happen for you?
It all began in a leadership class at Utah State. And I remember sitting there, and there was an executive coach that came in and presented. And as she was presenting, it just kind of came to me, this idea that if I was going to really help someone to change, it wasn't going to be through like motivational speaking. wasn't going to be through getting on a stage and sharing a message and having people change, because I had gone through plenty of motivational speaking gigs, or just like gone to places and trainings, and I would be excited for a moment, then I would go back to the normal day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
And so when this coach came and started talking about her job, I just realized that coaching was the skill I wanted to create. I wanted to excel at. And so I started learning about this thing called coaching and found the Life Coach School podcast. And this was when it was like 25 episodes in. And so
Yeah.
I jumped on the bandwagon, learned about this model. It explained every other model of human behavior I'd ever learned in school, and made it all seem more clear and easy. And as I continued to learn about it, continued to create this skill of coaching, and ended up even working for the Life Coach School. And that's, and after that, I started my own business. And so
Yeah.
there's just kind of this journey of, and this evolution of developing this skill and getting deeper into it, deeper into it. Now it's my full-time thing.
Well, and before we hit record, we kind of talked about kind of walking through
Mm-hmm.
your process, but before we do that, maybe
Yeah.
explain who you help right now. Who's your ideal person that you work with that you want to help them kind of reach their goals and
Yeah.
create that change for themselves? Who is that?
Yeah. So I might describe them as being a hopeless self-helper.
Okay.
So the reason being is because you know that you're a hopeless self-helper when you've tried everything, or that you've struggled to apply anything that you've actually learned, and thus have not gotten any results.
Yeah.
And so if you find yourself, because that's how I found myself, is I was this hopeless self-helper. I had these goals, much like kind of like um, not eating sweets, um, not looking at pornography, like all these things that were a challenge, that consistently remained a challenge until I applied myself to this inherent identity framework.
Mhm.
And there were elements, and it's kind of like say for example, just like not eating sweets. It's like I grew up in a world where you just ate something sweet after a meal. And we
Mm.
always had Oreos in the pantry and ice cream in the freezer. And then I got married, and my wife and we would have cake and ice cream every night. And it was amazing until it wasn't. And my body said, "Hey, this doesn't feel very good." And I
Yeah.
couldn't sleep very well. And I didn't have as much energy with all of that and the way I acted. And so it was always kind of this side goal and this yearning to change. And I remember at different times uh, trying to willpower. I remember going for 10 months or so, 9, 10 months without any sweets at all. But it was just purely willpower, just me saying, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I went to a training where someone shared about having just one goal and focusing on that one goal. But I had 3 goals. And I was just like, and one of them was not eating sweets. The other one was like a business. And I can't remember the other one, but it's like I chose, oh, I'm going to focus on my business. And then the goal for the sweets went out the window. And that night I like binged on a bunch of candy or whatever.
You got a free pass. It's like,
I got
oh, this isn't
past
my
was
goal
like,
anymore.
exactly. My brain was like, sweet. I don't have to hold. Man, that was such a grind. That was that was 10 months of torture. Let's go back.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what people who experience any kind of dieting, that's what they do. It's like they'll willpower their way, but then they go back and it's even
Yeah.
worse than it was before. And that's how it happened for me.
Yeah.
And I tried, because I got into life coaching, like I tried to change my thoughts, and it's like that was hard. It didn't really work. Didn't have the focus and the attention to keep going with that. And then I
Mhm.
struggled with like feeling my feelings. Can you just feel your emotions and let the urge die down and
Right.
not act on it? Well, yeah, that didn't really work because it was hard for me to like connect with my emotions or experience that. And so then it came to the point where I learned from a coach of mine. He talked about being versus doing, and this idea of creating an I am statement, making this, how do you be someone different? And
Mhm.
and the practical way of being someone different is by using an I am statement. And plenty of people have talked about affirmations. That's what we call them. But this was different in the sense that these I am statements were tailored, or that they were something that we could use to describe who we really wanted to be. And I just remember sitting one morning thinking to myself of what I wanted to do, which was say no to sweets.
Mhm.
Because I mean, having spent 10 years of off and on, like, I was just like, you kind of get to a point where you're just sick of it.
Yeah, it kind
And
of wears you down at
yeah,
some point.
where daily have this intention to be something, to be better, to be the kind of mom you want to be the kind of, you know, person you want to be, to show up with love, to eat healthy. And then you betray that, and you just feel like, and you want to beat yourself up, and you feel like that you'll never get rid of this urge or this temptation. And so I just remember waking up in the morning and thinking to myself, yeah, what is an identity? What's an I am statement that I could use that communicates this desire and this action of saying no to sweets? And as I thought about it, I was just like, I'm a fuel finder. I wanted to make it fun. I wanted to like make it something that I could remember. And so alliteration was kind of fun for me. It's like,
Mhm.
I am a sweets shunner, uh, you know, and then I came upon, and then it like dawned on me. I was like, wait, there's something better. It's like, I am a sugar shunner. I was like, whoa, yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, and it was kind of like a little light bulb moment. It's like,
Yeah.
that just feels great, to
Yeah.
say that. Just to
Yeah.
say it is fun.
Yeah.
And so I had this statement that said, I am a sugar shunner. I say no to sweets. And so here I am with this statement. It's like, okay, yeah, that's what I want to do. That's who I am. And I go to lunch and I have a quesadilla with salsa and chips. It's like super salty. And then just like the day before, I find myself in the pantry looking for something sweet after lunch. As I was sitting there, it dawned on me. I was like, wait,
Mhm.
I'm a sugar shunner. I say no to sweets. And there was just this instantaneous like letting go of any urge. There wasn't any challenge. It's like I was just able to walk out of the pantry because I had connected to something that was more true than what my brain believed was true. And in that moment of doing that, it's like I've been able to let go of sweets and haven't really looked back since, and it's not a willpower thing anymore. It's an
Mhm.
identity. So this
Yeah.
has becomes
Yeah.
part of who I am. So
I
that's
love
kind of
that.
what started the journey. And I was fascinated as to how this could possibly happen when I had tried so many things in the past and they all failed. And so I started to study it out and apply it to other things. And it worked for other things. And I shared it with my clients and it worked for them in different ways. And so that's kind of where I created this whole framework of how to create these kinds of statements that can powerfully change who you are and help you to live as your best self. So that's kind
Love
of like the journey of how it
Yeah.
came to be. But yeah,
I love that because, and especially like you had me at the first when you said a self-help, you know,
hopeless self-helper.
self-helper. Because
Uh-huh.
I think there's those of us who, we gravitate to that self-improvement, to that betterment, to that growth, right? And we do try those different things, and some things stick, some things don't. And the problem lies when it doesn't stick, and then we are defeated and we kind of throw our hands up in the air and beat ourselves up or all those things. And anyway, so I love that. I think that's a good ideal client
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah.
many of them, right? There's many
Right.
people out there that struggle with that. So I think
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
In the movement that we're trying to make is we're trying to become what I might call an identity reclaimer. Because
Mhm.
because here's the thing, within each of us is a spirit that has existed longer in than we've been alive on the earth. It's like we have been this intelligence or this being that has always existed. And so if that's true, and I believe that we are made in the image of God, that we're sons and daughters of God, and
Mhm.
if we are after his likeness, then essentially what that means is all those attributes and all those abilities that God has, like they're in me, but maybe they're just in seed form. It's like, you know, this little acorn or whatever, it could grow into this giant oak tree, and it really doesn't even have to do anything. It just has to sit there and allow the sun and the water to work with its magic and then just
Mhm.
grow. And so, in that same way, it's like we have this inherent identity that is connected to everything that we desire and everything that we want in this life and all the abundance that God is.
Mhm.
And it's our job to reclaim it and
Yeah.
remember it and
Yeah.
restore it. So
Yeah.
everybody in the self-help industry talks about changing, talks about becoming. And what I want to change the conversation to is more so we're not changing, we're not becoming. What we're doing is we're restoring. We are, it's not about change. It's about reclaiming what you lost and remembering and reminding yourself of who you
Yeah.
really are.
Yeah. I love
So,
that idea because I think too, before we can access who we want to be,
mhm,
now we have to remember who we are.
yeah,
It does start with remembering because once you know who you are, that's where the real power comes. But
yeah,
when we don't know that, when we've lost sight of that, we're trying in vain to
mhm,
be and become because we're searching for something that we just can't find outside of ourselves. It's
yeah,
something that's within us. So I love that. I think it ties really well with just even the idea of a restoration, right? The
yeah,
gospel is a restoration, and part of that restoring is restoring us.
mhm,
It kind
yeah,
of goes in tandem, right?
of
I
course,
love that. Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go through this process. I've heard you do it before, but I've not done it myself. So
Ooh, good.
this will be fun.
Different experience when you apply yourself. Here we
Yeah,
go.
let's go. Let's do this.
All right. So the framework falls under the acronym of I am me. So the
Okay.
first letter is I, which stands for ideal. And with this step, what we're trying to do is we're just trying to dream about what exactly it is that I do want in this area of my life. So what is something that you're working on that you would want to be more ideal?
I think for me in this moment, this season of my life,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm working on a business, but it's more being the best mom I can, the best person I can to my adult children. Like showing up as my best in that relationship.
Okay. So what does the ideal experience look like?
The ideal experience, not what I desire, but the
Yeah, what do you desire? Like, I mean, even
no,
if it's
I meaning like making them change. Other than having them change, the next ideal, no, I'm
yeah.
just teasing, I'm in jest, is just it looks like me loving them, right? And creating a connection with them, even wherever they are at in their journey, in their life. but just showing up in love.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ideal, is to show up in those relationships lovingly and without an expectation of them needing to be different than they are.
Okay. Now it's funny because for many people, you're a coach, so you kind of understand this. But for many people, what would be ideal is if other people were to change.
Yeah.
There's like, I
That
wish
would
my
be
kids
nice.
would like. Here's an example. It's like my mom wishes that all of us kids would talk to each other, like call each other on the phone and build relationships, and like be like love each other. And we get on every week. We talk to each other every week as a whole family. But she wants there to be more connection and there to be more experiences where we're getting together. Because what parent doesn't want their kids just loving on each other,
Yeah.
you know?
Amen.
And
Amen.
so here's the thing. It's like, it's okay to have even those desires for your kids. But like you have shown, it's even more powerful when you can keep it, because you're the one that can change you. You have the most power over yourself.
Mhm.
So your ideal, show up with love, no expectation of them needing to be different, creating connection with them. Now, this is an awesome ideal, awesome place to start. And now we can move on to the next letter, which is amplify. And
Okay.
and the next, this amplify step is about us being able to uh, maybe dramatize the experience or help you to really expand this dream. Because it's one thing to just bullet point a list of ways that of an ideal, and it's another thing to actually envision, what does that look like? What does that dream experience look like if I could just have it anyway? So if you could take me to an experience of like what this dream would look like in
Mhm.
your encounters with your kids, what would that be?
Okay. That's hard, Tyson.
So it's like, so maybe it's something that can help. It's like, maybe is there something that does kind of frustrate you normally about your kids?
Yeah, I would say lifestyle choices.
Yeah,
Right? There's lifestyle choices that are different
right.
than what I taught them growing up.
Yeah,
What are, things that I taught them that they're choosing to set aside.
yeah,
And so there have been many times I'm better at this. Coaching has helped me a lot with this. But when I'm at my best, when I am kind of, I see that ideal,
yeah,
then I just am present and enjoying their company.
yeah.
I'm not withholding, right? I'm not withdrawing. I'm not even guarded,
Mm,
right? Like, because there are situations where whatever the choice is, some are I don't see, but some are in front of me, right? That it's an active choice in the moment on their part. And so it's easy to go to judgment. It's easy to go to, if if they would just choose differently, or even just a sense of frustration, or self-pity, like I'm a terrible mother, like it's the gamut. But it's like,
hmm.
to amplify it would to just have no regard for the choice per se. And that's not to mean that that's not what I want for them, but not let it affect how I interact with them. I would just love them in the moment and be with them in the moment, whenever those moments are.
Yes. Okay. So here's what I love to do is, one of the ways that can help with this, if anyone as you're listening, is that, you might envision, okay, what does Thanksgiving look like? Right. And it's like, what's
Mhm.
the ideal Thanksgiving where everyone's here, everyone comes,
Mhm.
and what is that experience? How are you showing up? What would be just the dream experience,
Mhm.
of you in that experience? And so we can take what you said, and what I love to do that I think just amplifies this even more is putting this dream into what I call gratitude ahead of time. And so gratitude ahead of time language goes a little something like this. I'm so happy and grateful that dot dot dot, like whatever is your dream. So I'm so happy and grateful
Mhm.
that I'm present with my, and that I never have any sense of withdrawing or withholding. I'm not guarded or defensive, but rather I am fully embracing who they are in the moment. It's so
Mhm.
easy to love them. I accept where they are and their pains concerning their choices and just the difficulties of life. And I just choose to love them amidst all of it because it
Mhm.
feels good to love them. So it's like we could just like paint that little picture
Mhm.
and feel gratitude for it as though it was real,
Right. As it already happened.
as if it has already happened.
Yeah.
And by doing so, what we're doing is we're really solidifying and clarifying where exactly we want to go. It's almost like we're putting a stake in the ground, right in the target of what we want. And by doing so, we're connecting to that. We're going to be in a place of gratitude that is actually closer to the spirit, closer to what can bring revelation concerning what we should do in the
Mhm.
next step, which is the next step is called movement. And that's all about what kind of actions would create this ideal. And so from this place of gratitude, we can say, okay, well, what would I do? How would I do this? How would I create or help in creating this amplified ideal, this dream? What
Mhm.
are some actions that you think would be helpful?
I think in this scenario is I'm trying to think of like specific actions. I mean, I can think of things going on in my head, and I guess that could be
Yeah.
considered an action in
Yeah.
some degree, right?
Yeah.
But just this idea of dropping, like not being afraid. I think so many times for me in these situations, there's an element of fear
Mm,
because I'm not sure how it's going to go. And so again, I'm guarded. And so I think that if I could just release the fear,
yeah.
that would open me up to a lot better experience. And recently I had an experience where I was able to do this, and
Hmm.
going into it, I had a lot of thoughts running in my head, and I had to just pause.
Hmm.
I had to pause and I had to say, Jill, you have two choices here.
Right.
You can
Yeah.
show up in love or you can have a miserable time. What's it going to be? So I
Yeah.
kind of had to just talk to myself and coach myself through it. And thankfully, I chose the love my way through it. And
Hmm.
it was a fabulous experience. I didn't think twice about choices that were being made. I just was in the moment enjoying them. And so I think that's probably another action is just enjoy.
Other questions that can help is, if I was this kind of person that is easily loving and accepting, what does an accepting person do? What does a loving mother do?
Hmm.
And I don't know, does a loving mother and accepting mother, do they text their children every day? Do they practice envisioning their child making a mistake and not freaking out about it?
Yeah, yeah. I there's some truth to that. Like I had to picture what I would look like in that scenario, right? I
Hmm.
pictured the room in my head,
Yeah.
what it was going to look like, and really I kind of compared and contrasted, right? Like just like if I show up in this reserved, frustrated way, this is what's going to happen, and I could picture it. I could picture the weirdness that is there oftentimes when I show up that way. And then I could picture somewhat what it looked like to do a loving way, but
Yeah.
not as easy because that isn't my natural response. So it was a little
Yeah.
harder, but I still could in some ways picture that there would be a difference. There would be a tangible difference. So envisioning ahead of time is definitely helps.
Yeah. Awesome. So the whole point of us talking about the ideal, amplifying it, thinking about the movements, the actions that we take is so that we can get to this point, which is the next M, called manifesto. And this is all about creating the I am statement. It's about taking these pieces and putting them together in a way that just says, okay, who do I really want to be here? And how do I want to show up? When it came to my like sugar shunner experience, I was pretty much primarily looking at the action that I wanted to take and then transforming that into into identity statement. So,
Okay.
for example, if you wanted to envision yourself showing up with love, then you could just be a loving envisioner.
I'm a loving envisioner.
Like I am a loving visionary. It's like
Yeah.
I envision myself loving my kids before I talk with them.
Hmm.
So it's like that's the action. So and the statement, the manifesto is not just an I am statement. It's not just a I am patient, I am kind, I am confident. Like
Hmm.
those usually don't have as much meaning and they don't drive the emotion that we're looking for here, that connection. But when we like really play around with the words and as you write everything down, which you must do, it's like, okay, write down the ideal, write down the amplify version, write down the actions. And then as you're reviewing all, you can look and say, which words resonate with me? Because that resonation tells you something about yourself. Some words feel better than other words. And when you connect with those words, it's as if we're just putting a label to what this spirit is, of putting a name to it. I love the fact that there are like hundreds of names for Christ. So many names. And they each symbolize something different, something unique about who he is and what he is to people. And the fact that he has all these names, like it just confirms to me that, oh man, what if I have just as many? Just to
Hmm.
describe the way I want to be and who I want to be and who I want to show up as in my life. So yeah, I am a loving visionary. I am a moment mama. It's just like
In the
and
moment.
you
Yeah.
right, it's like you can make it fun or you can
Yeah.
make it simple. It's like it doesn't have to be complicated. A lot of people struggle with this part because they just think I'm not creative like Tyson and I can't figure this out. It's like no, you just make it, you just take an action and you just I pause and choose love. That was one of your actions. It's like
Yeah.
I'm a love pauser. It's like just
Right.
flip it. It-
Right.
but the important part is can we create an identity statement? Can we create this I am and I do kind of statement so that whenever we do this thing, we're reconfirming who we really are. So every time that I am in the moment with my kids, I'm a moment mama. Every time that I envision myself loving my kids, I'm a loving visionary, you know, and that way we can even like it can just become this cycle of like celebrating who we really are and becoming proud of who we are and connecting to that, feeling the truth of that. So I don't know if you made
I
up one.
love
I just
that.
kind of spewed out a couple that came off the top of my head,
I
but
love I love it. I think like just off the cuff, I love the moment mama, but I almost like in the moment mama.
yeah,
In the moment mama. I like that.
yeah, I'm an in the moment mama, and so it's just like it's being able to say that, and then kind of like when you try on clothes or whatever, it's like what feels good.
Yeah.
Does this feel right? And the thing is, I've had statements that I thought felt good and I started doing it and it didn't really work. And so I went through the process again so that I could get clarity on this like, okay, if it's not quite being in the moment, is that really what I want or what's different? Maybe there's some
Mhm.
nuance here. Maybe there's more to this that I didn't quite understand and that there's
Yeah.
more words that would really bring out the truth of what I want here
Mhm.
because what I believe is that what you really want is who you really are.
Yeah, I love that. And I think what I think I hear you saying is just as Christ has many names,
Yeah.
we can have many I am statements.
Yes.
Right? We find those areas in our life that we really want to envision or create, discover our identity in that situation or
Yeah.
in that relationship. And so this is a process we can do to really fine tune, who are we here?
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
part of this is us? What
Right.
part? Yeah, I love that. I love
Because here's the thing, behind every thought, there's an identity statement. So even for my kids, it's like we're trying to watch general conference, um, and they're 7 and 4. And for some reason, they just cannot keep quiet. They just keep talking, yep, 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 yep.
that.
And my brain wants to go, they should be quiet. They should stop talking. They should not be so disruptive. They are annoying. And so, what that translates to, those are thoughts, translate to, I am annoyed. That's an identity statement. Now, I can attach to that. Now, all of a sudden, I am just this annoyed person, and I become annoyed by all the things that are going on, versus what do I really want? What do I really want in this experience? The ideal, I might say, well, the ideal is that they should stop talking. The ideal is that I have a peaceful experience, or that I'm able to connect with and learn from the speakers. But as I like really think about it, and when I tune more maybe into my heart, I think what I'd really love is that I am able to connect with my kids, help them see the importance of this, and to find some creative way to help them engage with what's going on. And that might mean that I have to get up out of my seat and do something. You know, if I try and connect, or if I at least address the process or go through the process of what's my ideal, then I get to actually have a place where I can choose to connect with who I really am, versus what my brain thinks is
Yes.
who I am.
Yeah.
So,
And being an intentional,
yeah,
right? Being an intentional I am, because if we do it by default, that is, some people refer to it as our false self,
right.
right? And when we operate in those moments like that, it really is not who we are. It's a
Yeah,
false self. It's a false identity.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so the last step is E, which stands for evoke. And really, what this is all about is remembering. It's about, how can I consistently evoke and bring up, not just bring up the statement, but remind myself and bring up the emotion connected with that statement. Because in going through this process, I've created a statement that I feel connected to. And if I keep remembering who I really am and feel the truth of it, then it will be 10 times easier to do the thing associated with that. So when I connect with this identity of being an in the moment mama, and I feel that resonation, to me, what that resonation means is that is a confirmation of the spirit. That is as if God is saying, yes, that is who you really are. There is nothing more powerful. There is none of the five physical senses, see, hear, touch, feel, whatever, taste, like there is nothing more powerful than a confirmation of the spirit to your heart. And so for you to confirm the truth of who you really are is going to be more enduring, more lasting, more of a profound change within you than any other thing on this planet. Which is why someone can come up to me and say, I have all this evidence to prove that the Book of Mormon is not true. And I wouldn't believe 1 ounce of it. There
Right.
is no argument. And there's no argument the brain can provide that would persuade me off of this truth that I know. And so even though I may not have a slew of evidence to prove that it is true, right? So I may not have evidence that I am an in the moment mama, but because I feel it's true, that is actually who I really am. And this is what I do. And every time that I operate from that place, it's just a confirmation. Yeah, this is who I really am. This is what I do.
Yeah, I love that. I think that it just feeds on itself. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
doing is allowing the remembering.
Yeah.
Remembering is allowing the doing or
Yeah.
feeling the doing, right? And so it's kind of a yeah, it's just all intertwined. It propels you in that direction.
Right.
Doing, being, doing, being. Yeah.
And this is why I've been able to create so many more habits and have helped so many of my clients to create change that is effortless and easy, because what we're doing is we're not actually changing. We're just remembering. And the
Yeah.
more that we remember and remind ourselves, the more that it's just easy to live into who we really are.
I love it because I think oftentimes when we are in the self-help, when we are the pathetic self-helpers, right? We look at the actions, the things we need to do. I'm not doing this, I need to do this. And we have this idea of what we need to do.
Yeah,
It really it isn't connecting with us inside. It isn't a belief we have because
right.
at some level we just are disconnected from those actions that we want, but it's because we aren't connecting it with who we are already.
Yeah, well, and you bring up an important point, because the world is going to teach us what we should do.
Mm-hmm.
And it, I mean, I've worked with people where they struggled because what the world taught them was that you need to have a morning routine that includes these kinds of things. And if you don't, then you are a horrible person.
Right,
You
right.
know, then it's like you're not doing what the best people in the world do. And
Yeah.
so there's kind of these, like, the world will teach us what it thinks is the ideal and what it thinks is the right actions.
Mm-hmm.
And which is why sometimes your identity statement may not work, is because it's based upon other people's
Yeah.
other people's
It
stuff.
really isn't you. Yeah.
Right.
It isn't really you. So of course it's not going to fit.
Right.
It's a
And so when
different
I'm talking
idea.
with this person and I'm telling her, it's like, do you really want to wake up early? You know, it's just like, actually, no. It's just like, then this isn't even a thing.
Yeah. Why are we talking about this?
Then it's like, okay, now the identity is just like, I'm a I'm a sleeper. It's like it's like I'm a self-lover, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. One of the things that I think is a fundamental I am statement that everybody should have, um, is something around the lines of I am enough. You know,
100%.
I
Yeah.
am a self-lover because, what the world will convince us of, and what Saint wants to convince us is that we're not enough,
Yeah.
and that we are unlovable, unworthy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so having some sort of statement communicating that, and like fundamental truth,
Hmm.
is powerful.
Yeah. I think so too, because I think that's where the remembering can come
Right.
to begin, right? Is that basic belief that you are enough as you are. But I
Yeah.
think I just had this thought come to me as you were saying that, like even the idea of that your husband or your child are enough. They
Hmm.
are enough.
Yeah.
And that's the other fear, right? It's either
Mm.
I'm not enough or my life isn't enough. And
Right.
so even having an I am statement around that is that they are enough as
Yeah.
they are. So I think that can be really powerful. I could talk to you all day,
I
Tyson.
know, right? We're just going to
Lovely.
town.
I love it. I love it. So before we end, is there anything else you want to leave with?
the more that you walk around your life and you just start to notice what it is that you love and what you would love to have in your life, the more you start to connect with who you really are, because what you want is who you are, and what makes you come to life, what you know sets you aflame, what brings light into your life. Those are the things we want to pay attention to, because the more that you do those things and connect with those things, the more alive you become. And we need more alive people
Mm-hmm.
on the planet.
Oh,
So
yeah, 100%. And just when we can light up, we can help others light up.
yeah,
Right? It's about like we're all in this together.
yeah.
If I'm not lit up, how can I shine light to my neighbor
Mm-hmm.
or friend?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's got to start here. So I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you for joining me. And if
Yes.
people want to work with you, how do they find you?
Yeah. First place to go is inherentidentity.com, where you can get a worksheet and see a walkthrough of all these steps. And then if you can go to Instagram, Tyson Bradley Coaching, and you can find out more there. And then my podcast, the Inherent Identity Podcast, is a good place to really dive deep on some of this identity stuff. So
Okay. I love it. It's such a good, powerful message.
yeah.
Much needed. So I appreciate your time and for being here.
Yes. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you hear, I would love it if you would share it with your friends and family and leave me a rating and review. If you'd like to learn more about what life coaching is, please schedule a free discovery call with me where we can work together through something that's causing you a problem. Just go to my website, seasons-coaching.com, and you can also find information about my Seasons of Joy one-on-one coaching program and my Seasons of Joy community. Have a joyful week, and I'll see you next time.